Ever wondered how to use commas correctly? Proper comma usage is a vital part of English writing, ensuring clarity and precision in your sentences. Misplacing or omitting this tiny punctuation mark can cause confusion, or even completely alter the meaning of your sentence. Over the course of this video, we're going to break down the essential rules of comma usage in easy, step-by-step segments. So grab your notebook and prepare to level up your writing skills. Let's dive into these rules so you can become a master at using commas. Our first rule to grasp is using commas in a list. When we're creating a list, commas act as the separators between the items. They're like little breaks, helping our readers to distinguish between the different elements we're mentioning. For example, if you're listing your favorite fruits, you might write, "I love apples, bananas, and oranges." Notice how the comma gives a pause between each item, making it clear that they are separate entities. It's also important to remember the Oxford comma, the final comma, in a list of things. This is the one that comes right before a conjunction like and or. So, our previous example becomes, "I love apples, bananas, and oranges." The Oxford comma can be a matter of style, and sometimes it's necessary for clarity. Now let's talk about a common mistake when using commas in a list. This is when people use a comma before the first item or after the last item in the list. Let's clarify with an example. Incorrect usage would be apples, bananas, and oranges, or apples, bananas, and oranges. The correct way is without the leading or trailing comma, apples, bananas, and oranges. Commas also separate groups of words in a list. For instance, I need to buy a new coat, find a good book to read, and call my mom. Here, the comma separates each grouping of words, which are each distinct tasks. Remember, commas are the pause between your thoughts, so use them wisely in lists. Now let's move on to our second rule, using commas to separate independent clauses. An independent clause, for those who may not know, is a group of words that can stand alone as a sentence. It has a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. For instance, I enjoy reading, or the cat is sleeping. Now, when two independent clauses are joined together in a sentence, they can be separated by a comma and a coordinating conjunction. These conjunctions include words like and, but, or, so, for, yet, and nor. They're quite easy to remember if you use the acronym FANBOYS. So let's take two independent clauses. I enjoy reading, and I often lose track of time. To join these two clauses together using a coordinating conjunction, we might say, I enjoy reading and I often lose track of time. Notice the comma placed before the and. This is the fundamental idea of using commas to separate independent clauses. However, be wary of comma splices. A comma splice occurs when you use a comma to join two independent clauses without a coordinating conjunction. For example, I enjoy reading, I often lose track of time. This is incorrect. Instead, use a comma with a coordinating conjunction, or separate the clauses with a period or a semicolon. Now, let's look at another example. She wanted to visit the museum, but it was closed for renovation. Here we have two independent clauses. She wanted to visit the museum, and it was closed for renovation, separated by a comma and the coordinating conjunction but. Remember, a common mistake is to place a comma between an independent clause and a dependent clause. For instance, I enjoy reading because it's relaxing. This is incorrect, as because it's relaxing is a dependent clause that cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. This rule is a pivotal one, so make sure you've got it down. Our third rule revolves around using commas after introductory elements. Now you might be wondering, what are introductory elements? Well, they are words or phrases that set the stage for the main part of the sentence. They usually come at the beginning of the sentence, hence the name, and can be adverbs, conjunctions, phrases, or clauses. Think of introductory elements as the opening act for the main show. They set the tone, provide context, and build anticipation for the main clause that's to follow. And just like how the opening act is followed by a pause before the main show begins, introductory elements are followed by a comma. Consider this example. After a long day at work, Sarah decided to take a hot bath. Here, after a long day at work is the introductory phrase, setting up the context for what Sarah decided to do. Notice the comma after this phrase, it's like a pause, giving the reader a moment to understand the context before moving on to the main clause. Common mistakes often occur when people either forget to use the comma after the introductory element, or use it unnecessarily. For instance, in the morning I like to have coffee. Here, the comma after in the morning is missing, making the sentence sound rushed. On the other hand, I like to have coffee in the morning. Here the comma after I is unnecessary and disrupts the flow of the sentence. Another key point to remember is that not all sentences with introductory elements require a comma. For short and clear introductory elements, the comma may be optional. For example, in summer we often go swimming. Here, the brevity and clarity of the introductory phrase, in summer, makes the comma optional. So, when you're crafting your sentences, take a moment to consider if you're setting the stage with an introductory element. If you are, don't rush into the action. Pause, take a breath, and use that comma to give your readers a moment to anticipate the main clause. So, don't forget that introductory comma. It sets the pace for the rest of your sentence. Our fourth rule is about using commas for non-essential information. Now you might be scratching your head wondering, what exactly does non-essential mean when it comes to writing? Well, let's break it down. Non-essential, in the context of grammar, refers to any piece of information that, if removed, wouldn't alter the core meaning of the sentence. It's like a side dish to your main course. Nice to have, but not crucial. Commas come into play to enclose these non-essential elements, which could be clauses, phrases, or even single words. This acts like a pair of invisible brackets, setting the non-essential information apart from the rest of the sentence. Let's look at a few examples to illustrate this. Take the sentence, "My sister, who is a fantastic cook, made dinner last night." The phrase, "who is a fantastic cook," is non-essential. Even if we remove it, the sentence still makes sense. My sister made dinner last night. Now, what about the sentence, "The book, To Kill a Mockingbird, is a classic"? Here, "To Kill a Mockingbird" is essential information. Without it, we wouldn't know which book is being referred to. So, it's incorrect to use commas in this case. A common mistake many people make is overusing commas with non-essential information. For instance, "My dog Rover loves to play fetch." Here, the commas around Rover are necessary, but the other commas disrupt the flow of the sentence and should be removed. Remember, the key to mastering this rule is understanding what information is essential and what isn't. Think of each sentence as a journey. Your essential information is the destination, and non-essential information is the scenic route. While the scenic route can add flavor and context, it's not necessary to reach the destination. And there you have it. This rule helps keep your writing clear and concise, so be sure to remember it. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? Let's take a moment to recap the 4 main rules of comma usage that we've delved into in this video. Firstly, we talked about using commas for listing. Remember, when you're listing items in a sentence, use commas to separate them, just like you would if you were writing a grocery list. It's as simple as apples, oranges, and bananas. Secondly, we discussed using commas to separate independent clauses. This is when you have 2 complete thoughts that could stand alone as separate sentences. By using a comma and a coordinating conjunction, you're able to smoothly combine these ideas into one sentence. Our third rule was about using commas after introductory elements. This could be a phrase, a clause, or even just a single word. The comma helps to signal the start of the main part of the sentence, providing clarity for your reader. And finally, we explored using commas for non-essential information. This is the extra information that, while interesting, isn't absolutely necessary to the main point of your sentence. By placing this information between commas, you're able to include it without interrupting the flow of the sentence. Remember, these rules aren't just theoretical, they're practical tools that can improve the clarity and flow of your writing. But like any tool, they're only effective if you know how to use them. That's why it's so important to practice applying these rules. Try them out in your next essay, your next email, or even your next social media post. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become. With these rules in your toolkit, you're well on your way to mastering the art of the comma. Remember to practice, and you'll soon see the improvement in your writing. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more informative content.